So we have VVOLs up and running. We have storage policies in place. We've created a virtual machine. We've relocated data based on policies. Now let's get a little bit more advanced. See what some of the power behind VVOLs and specifically policy-based management lets us do. Now what I'm doing is I've went back into UnityVSA, and on the 3 capability profiles that we had before, I'm adding new tags. For the tiered FastVP controlled pool, I'm adding the tag DB. This is to denote, this is where I want my databases. On the pool 75, that's single tier performance, I'm adding the boot tag. This is where I want boot drives. And then lastly, on the big pool, the 250, which is bronze level, I'm going to add the archive tag. This is where I want archive data, such as backups. What you can see by using these tags is I can add a lot of information to the capability profiles. Remember, all of those capabilities show up inside of vSphere through VVOLs that help the vSphere administrator, when creating storage policies, customize how they want the VMs to be placed on top of it. And because the VVOL data store is one connection to the Unity, you're not having to choose at the data store level. You're just setting a policy. So now we're back inside the vSphere console. We're going to create 3 new storage policies. They're going to mirror the capability policies in this case. The first one is UnityDB. Instead of doing a service level tag, which I did before, I'm doing a usage tag here and selecting DB. I could layer the rule sets. I could say I want DB and bronze, or I could add additional tags. As I go through and I create a storage policy for boot and for archive, I want you to think about all the different permutations this might allow. Here I am choosing a tier layout for a database, boot, database, and then archive. I could obviously expand upon that, say this is where I want my log data, this is where I want my temp DB data. I also could do this at an application level in terms of application tiers, web, app, database. Or I could take it a level higher and say what type of application is this? Maybe it's a mission critical application versus a development application. It's really up to your control now. As well, keep in mind, if you have multiple arrays that support VVOLs, you can spread this out across. So it may not just be Unity, it might be multiple Unities, it might be another vendor's product. As well, vSAN, if you're familiar with that, is also using the same constructs. It's not exactly VVOLs, but it's the same storage policy-based management. So I'm finishing out my last storage policy here for the Unity archive. So I want to put these 3 policies to use. I'm going to go back up vSphere and back down into hosts and clusters, and I'm going to go ahead and modify the VVOL test 01 again. I'm going to do the same thing as before, change the VM policy. The only thing that this VM has right now are boot files. So I'm going to change the policy from Unity Bronze to Unity Boot. If you recall, Unity Bronze is our pool 250, Unity Boot is our pool 75, so we're actually going to make some data migrations here. Let's wait for that to happen. With that complete, let's make sure that the changes were applied. Flip back over to the UnityVSA tab, go to the virtual volumes. We're going to see that now it's in CP75 vSAN. So, base is moved, but we added 2 more profiles. What are we going to do with them? Let's add some additional virtual hard drives to this machine, simulating a database layout. So I'm going to go back into VVOL test 01 and edit the settings. I'm going to add 3 new hard disks. Now, this is a basic simulation of what a database might look like. Yours is going to probably be far more complex, but I'm going to add a 25 gig and a 50 gig, both for databases, and then I'm going to add 100 gig for archive or backups. Once the VM DK is created, I can actually go in at a virtual hard disk level and change the policy. You can see me doing that now by opening it up, VM storage policy, UnityDB. I'll do the same thing on 100 gig, change it to Unity Archive. You can do this at any time. You can do this through the virtual machine edit settings like we are here. You can do it through reassociating the policy like you did before. Just your choice of how you want to affect those policies. So, with those 3 new disks created and the policies on them in place, reconfigured virtual machine is running. At this point, it's creating 3 new VMDK files. It's talking through the VSA provider with Unity and to say, here's my policies, where should they go? Now, they're not going to go where the boot files are because it is a different policy. So now under VM storage policies, we see 3 separate policies down at the bottom. And if we flip back to UnityVSA, refresh, we're going to see those new VMDKs and their associated capability profiles. Now we're seeing the capability profile and the pool name, and we're seeing the total size. But if you check those boxes and you drill in, you can see the thin usage right there. Plus you can see what the policy in vSphere is.